This is the Real Footy Podcast. Hello and welcome to day one of the AFL trade period. My name is Michael Gleeson and joining me today is Marc McGowan. Marc, a lot of noise, maybe not so much activity, but there was a bit of, there's a lot of activity around Marvel Stadium without actual trades being completed. How'd you see the day?
Yeah, we're away. I mean, it feels like we've been going for months already, but this is the official start, and every single club's list boss or spokesperson, some clubs managed to dodge their list boss stepping up, but we can talk about that as well. But we're away, and there's been some interesting stuff, as you said, without any great activity from the big
It's just because they come down to the Marvel and they all get asked to go out there and they all say a lot, talk a lot without saying anything. But there were some things that happened today. Charlie Spargo has gone from Melbourne to North as a free agent. And if that goes through undiluted, that'll be Melbourne getting pick 41.
And while you mentioned that, to be clear to people, so when you say not diluted, that's because they would ideally, Melbourne, like to trade for Brodie Myercheck, which would mean they can keep that pick 41 that they will get for Spargo. As
will be abundantly clear to listeners throughout the period, as we explained it as well, that any compensation you get is the net effect of players coming in and out. And so should they only lose Charlie, then they'll get pick 41. But if they bring one in themselves, then it becomes a pick worse than that. So they'd rather not do that, and therefore they will trade for Brodie Myercheck, who can go there as a free agent anyway, should it come to it, if they can't strike a deal. But they'll do a deal with Collingwood for a late-ish pick. Jacob Ware from GWS goes to Port Adelaide as a free agent, but no compo attached to that.
Clearly on peanuts, Gleeson.
Clearly on peanuts. And you go for nothing. And in a remarkable turn of events, a player wants to go to Essendon, not leave, which does, being facetious, but does seem to be out of kilter with all the noises coming out of Essendon with Zach Merrett, obviously. But Braden Fiorini will go to Essendon. He's a free agent from the Gold Coast. But again, this is one of those don't dilute the compensation occasions because of the Sam Draper move. So you can explain that.
It feels like it's becoming a bigger topic.
Yeah.
This year, like there's so many clubs that are not wanting to double dip, and look, as you said, Fiorini's chosen Essendon over Port Adelaide. Probably neither are right now super appealing, but obviously he's been a bit of a trade period regular. He's been popped up each year almost. Collingwood almost had a dip at him a few years back.
I think he's a good pickup for Essendon.
Yeah, I think he has. He had a good year on the wing.
So they will, just to clarify, so Sam Draper will go to Brisbane as a free agent. And so Essendon doesn't want to dilute that compensation, which will be significant, probably the end of first round for him.
It was pick 20.
Yeah.
Pick 20, yeah.
So they will trade there. In other news, Oscar McInerney will retire, which is sort of connected to the Sam Draper coming in as well. Effectively, you've got him one coming in, one going out. I think that McInerney was not unexpected either.
No, it wasn't. And Dom Ambrosio, Brisbane's list boss, was actually asked about it today. Was he surprised? He said he probably wasn't, but he actually made the comment he's the most popular man he's ever met across all fields. And I think that's right. He's been celebrated. I think if you think back to the grand final and when his name was called to step up onto the dais and get his medal, just the reaction from the Brisbane players, they love him.
I remember being in the rooms after the grand final with him last year, and there was no happier man in the room than the bloke that didn't get to play in that game. He was so happy for Darcy Fort that he was just beaming and hugging him. And then so it was enjoyable to see him get his chance this year. And, he is a very likeable player. But moving on, the bigger names that are going to form a lot of the conversation of this week, obviously Zach Merrett. Hawthorn is still saying we want him, and Essendon saying so do we.
It's funny how they dance around it, though. The Hawks were sort of, we're interested. Yeah, if something eventuates it, you're more than interested. He's met with your coach. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. I don't
see him going. I see Zach Merrett and Charlie Curnow is very different. I think Curnow is gettable for the right price.
Yep.
You've just got to come up with what that right price is. I don't think there are many prices that would entice Essendon to move Merrett. I think that what they would require for their captain to go would be something that Hawthorn wouldn't be able to come up with.
I've had that stance from the start.
Yeah.
I know people, when it first came out, shock, horror, he's met with another club. It's unsustainable. He's got to go. Yeah, you can't. It's unsustainable to keep a guy like that at your club. He's been a captain. No, he's got to go. Essendon aren't exactly flush with top liners. And I think that's been a big part of their problem in recent years. So there's no way you could trade him and feel like your club's getting better. And I can see why they wouldn't want to get rid of him. But even we talk about guys that aren't going to go. I mean, Bailey Humphrey is a fascinating name to follow. He's popping up everywhere. We all saw the photo of him with Stephen King and Nathan
Only
Jones.
hours after his manager has said, no, he's not meeting with anyone.
Well, I shouldn't say that, but yeah, there was stuff about Bailey Humphrey that was coming up a week or so earlier before all these photos popped up, and all the talk was, no, it's all bogus. There's nothing in it. It's amazing how things change very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was certainly nothing in it from Gold Coast perspective then or now. They're not trading him. So
it's the camp though, whether things seem to have changed a little bit with Bailey Humphrey. I think he's not meeting with clubs for fun.
That's true. But if you've got a contract, it's no different to Zak Merrett. You've got a contract and they don't want to trade you. You're not going anywhere. That's the point of a contract.
Yes,
so
contracts don't seem to hold a lot of weight these days.
Well, they do. They do
fronts.
when Zak Merrett gets told, see you at first day of pre-season training. The same as Bailey Humphrey will be told. And so I don't see either of them going anywhere. Craig Cameron couldn't have been more definitive at today. And it'd be a big climb down for him to turn around and go, we're going to do it.
No doubt, but you've covered a lot of trade periods. Yeah. I've covered a lot of trade periods, and I've seen stances soften from one day to 9 or 10 days later. Look, I'll just never say never. I agree he's been very, very strong today, and I don't see it changing, but I also don't completely rule anything out.
I see nothing moving on Merrett or Humphrey. The others here, Christian Petracca is an interesting one. So we've got Sam Flanders is going to go to
St Kilda for pick 7,
which is a good pick. And that of itself could end up being what will form the nucleus of a deal, theoretically, for Petracca.
What's Petracca worth if Bailey Humphrey is off the table? Let's say he is. Let's pretend for right now that's not even going to be a possibility. Pick 7's not enough for Petracca.
No. Well, he's a better player than Sam Flanders, and Sam Flanders goes for 7.
Correct.
Albeit Sam Flanders is younger. Well, it's 7 and something. Is it 7 and a future? Is it 7 and a second round? Is it 7? Does
Melbourne want players? That's another thing as well.
So you've got Ben Ainsworth is an available player. He's in contract for Gold Coast. Now, I don't think Melbourne's in the market for that. I think Carlton's got some interest. Essendon has previously had interest in Ben Ainsworth. Whether they still do or not, they'll look at it again, but I don't think that they'll pursue that. Carlton, look, it could form, there could be an arrangement there. If Carlton's interested there, could that help grease the wheels of something to do with Charlie Curnow?
It's a fascinating. They've been searching for a small forward for what seems like a decade. And they just haven't had any luck yet. No,
that's right. So again, Ben Ainsworth isn't going to be the player that you do a deal for Charlie Curnow on, but he could form part of an arrangement. There could be that. So that's a watch. That's sort of, this is a player that could enter the discussions around that. And he could equally just stay at the Gold Coast. He's contracted there,
or be completely unconnected. As well.
Completely unconnected as well
to a Curnow deal if he does get traded.
So Melbourne still remains, like St Kilda, the sort of central figures in a lot of what are the known players. So you've got Clayton Oliver as well. Increasingly looks like GWS would be the club if he is to find another home, and he wants to go to and presuming he wants to be amenable to that because he is contracted and can equally turn to the club and say, I want to stay.
You look pretty happy on that boat though, Gleeson. He was, whatever. I don't know. Adam Kingsley's obviously a very funny man because that was a big smile on.
He also looked. I thought it was very good and cheeky when he tweeted the photo last week of him retweeted the photo of him with a Casey jumper on.
Yeah,
he's like, well, I'm happy to go and play for Casey for 1.3 a year. If you don't do the deal, I'll happily just come back and I'll sit there and play there.
Part of that was that byplay with Mitch as well.
Yeah.
Mitch Cleary.
Yeah, it was. So Petracca's interesting because Melbourne and Gold Coast didn't meet on Monday. They'll meet on Tuesday on that. So there's no real urgency there. I think they're still trying to all gauge the level of interest. Well, is it because they haven't yet sat down and spoken? Is it how serious are Melbourne about doing this, or is this just another tire kicking? Well, we'll see what's out there.
Well, Tim Lamb made it very clear today when he spoke to the media that if he's going, pay up. His words were pay up.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. He's a great. He used every word you could.
If he's all of that, why are you pushing him out?
That's a good response as well. But if we look at it from the other side, they're very clear on if you're going. That's
it's
fine.
on our terms.
Pony up.
Yeah.
We're going to want a strong return,
and that's fine. And I think in that sense, Gold Coast will also be prepared to walk. If they can do it, yes. But you don't also sell the farm on it. So
how would that look though? If Gold Coast doesn't follow through here?
Well, he's a contracted player.
This
so
is
it's
almost
the same
their
as
Brisbane Lions moment, isn't it? This could be the start for them.
Maybe if they can get it, depending on what you've got to give up, and you're not going to jeopardise the different academy players coming through as well, and your capacity to secure them. It can be a bit like, Geelong wanted Clayton Oliver last year. And Clayton Oliver wanted to go there last year, and it didn't happen. So it doesn't necessarily reflect badly on Gold Coast.
He's requested a trade, though, this time.
And
Clayton never did.
Clayton. Well,
he didn't technically do it, though, did he?
He did. He wanted to trade.
He certainly went down to Reece Stanley's farm, did the works of that. But did he officially request a trade?
I think so. Stephen May, meanwhile, I think looks more likely to.
Sounds like he's staying.
Yeah,
Collingwood called, and he just didn't have Western Bulldogs. Obviously aren't going there, and
so he plays out the year, or they come to an arrangement or something. Jamara Ugle-Hagan, I think, will go back to the Gold Coast this week and have a medical. I think they're taking it baby steps in stepping through how that looks and what happens there. I think they plan to, whatever contract he's got with the Bulldogs for next year, that'll be up to him and his management to resolve, and they'll do their own deal. Yeah,
it's a funny one because he's been paid big money for doing nothing this year. Let's be honest, other than be a distraction. And now the Dogs, geez, you're going to pay him even more. There's probably going to have to be some negotiations there.
No, they'll pay. They'll say, for argument's sake, he's on 850, 900 for next year. And if the Gold Coast say, well, we'll pay you 250, well, then it's just on Bulldogs to find the balance and be prepared to just pay whatever they get off their books for next year is a saving.
You'd like to think, and again, maybe this is pie in the sky stuff, but you'd like to think there's going to be some sort of acknowledgement on the other side that you can probably slice a little bit off that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's going to be the full whack. Even if Gold Coast eats into some of it, surely there's going to be some concession that you haven't played a game this year and things haven't gone great.
We've invested a lot of time and effort and money in you.
Number one pick.
Yeah, and it's come to this. Separately, we had Bobby Hill, Collingwood was asked about, Justin Lepich was asked about him, and he said, look, we believe we're on top of the issues, going nowhere. I think there wasn't discussed. I think Buller from Sydney.
Hoping to get that done. Sydney, a little bit of posturing, we're disappointed we're losing him.
We've got a 2-year deal in front of him, but he won't play next year.
No, he's not going to play. I mean, let's be honest. Logan McDonald didn't play a game this year. They're clearly in the market for Charlie Curnow. They're looking to upgrade things. But you got Joel Amarty and there's a bunch of others.
Yeah.
These guys that you'd imagine he's down the pecking order. I can't see that being a major issue.
And Jack Steele didn't see.
It's a bit of a sad situation.
It is a sad situation. I haven't seen anyone sort of jumping out saying yes. Look, he's on a decent contract. I'm sure he'd be open to varying that. You might add a year and smooth things over or whatever. Kilda's clearly said, go your hardest to find somewhere else.
Doesn't want to go.
And so that's.
I remember being in the Marvel Stadium change rooms. God, this is 2 months ago now, and all the Jack Steele stuff was coming up at the time, and we all knew that it was coming from St Kilda, not from him. But we were still asking Jack, do you want to be here next year? And he was adamant.
Yeah,
and that hasn't changed.
He
loves the club.
He was captain of the club.
Started at the Giants. He basically got pushed out there in a lot of ways, and then it's happening again at the end. And it's a shame because in between, this is a guy who was dual All-Australian, won 2 B&Fs at the peak of his career. Is one of the really good midfielders in the competition. So it's a real shame.
Yeah. We've still got in the background this interesting dance between West Coast and Brisbane, a bit of brinkmanship. So we've got
back to the diluting again.
Back to the diluting, but there's extra elements in this. So the free agency window will close before the trade window closes, and so West Coast aren't prepared to put the offer in on Oscar Allen.
Brisbane aren't.
Brisbane aren't, and secure that until they've got confirmation on Starcevic and what's happening with that. So West Coast would rather do a small trade for Starcevic, a relatively small trade for Starcevic, because the money offered by Brisbane for Oscar Allen will get them pick 2. And they can't do anything that will jeopardise pick 2. And so they're both sitting there going, well, what's the deal going to be for Starcevic?
Well, in the background as well, let's add in here that they've obviously gone to the AFL asking for a bit of help, and the AFL, as part of the assistance package, has given them an end of first-round pick, which potentially was raised as something that could get the Starcevic deal done.
Well, you know what else gets the Starcevic deal done?
I'm waiting
the
for
pre-season draft pick.
I knew you were going to say it.
First pick, and that has to sit there. They've also got the capacity, and maybe it's a threat or a conversation, but they can bid on the academy talents that Brisbane has. So I think all of those things come into a bit of a standoff there, which it'll get resolved.
So when you're talking about the academy, Daniel Annable is one of the top 5 picks this year in the draft. And as we know, West Coast got the pick 1 right now, and Brisbane's going to match no matter where it comes from. And they could have 2. So it's a murky situation, but it seems to come up every year. But this is a particularly fascinating one, isn't it?
The fact that he's sitting there as a potential walk through the preseason draft, he's not going to do it. He's a premiership player with the club. He doesn't want to do that. But it has
Remember
to be
Liam Baker 12 months ago?
Yeah.
He actually said it publicly. I don't want it to be.
No.
I don't want it to be messy.
Let's be reasonable
Let's get
about
this done. And
Starcevic
is going on up
Starcevic
to a
is a good
6-year deal.
Yeah.
That's
so you
not a
can't turn around and
pre-season
say, he's not worth anything. He's only worth a 3rd rounder or something like that.
The last time this happened was Jack Martin. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was ugly.
Yeah, that was ugly. As for what happens tomorrow, well, one thing that will happen, and Mel Rosas will go from Gold Coast to Sydney. I think might have been. Now they're all back at work tomorrow in Sydney after a public holiday. That might help things as well. So we'll take some reader questions. And there's a question from Corey that it seems unlikely, but are there any rumblings that one of the Suns Academy players may fall through unmatched if they are drafted early enough or nominated early enough, pick 2 and 3 perhaps?
No, so to be clear, Gold Coast have 2 absolute top liners. You've got Zeke Uland, who potential number 1 pick, and then Dylan Patterson, who will also get a top 6 bid. Now, those 2 are absolutely going to be matched. The talk of a player slipping through is because there's a few other players that are sort of on the fringe of the first round, and the earliest one will probably be Bo Adensel, who's another inside mid. I projected him in my draft rankings probably around those sort of early to mid-20s. There's a little bit of talk that because of the points that will be required to match those 2 early picks, if a club goes in quite early and really likes Adensel, or there's a couple of other guys there, potentially Gold Coast may not be able to match just because they'll run out of points. That's where it becomes challenging, which is how the system really should work.
Yeah. And it's an interesting one as well, where they've flagged that next year, just by the by, they've flagged that next year you'll have to use 2, no more than 2 picks to pick up any one player. Now, everyone's watched Cody Walker on grand final day and realised, my goodness, this is a generational.
Him and Dougie Cochran
player,
next year are beauties.
He's a pick 1 or 2. So Carlton's also looking at it now going, well, it may form part of what all of the different negotiations and trades that they're doing to go, we need to get another pick in next year if anything, because 1 pick alone won't get us Walker. They may still miss the 8 next year and have a top 10 pick, but
you
one top 10
pick
won't.
Picking second. No, there's no way that we're picking second.
One pick itself won't get it there, so they will need another first round pick next year. So if they were amenable to Curnow, I would think that anything involving Curnow would have to involve a future first round pick because of safeguarding that. The other thing, though, they've also got is they're going to need to match a pick this year for Dean.
Harry Dean, who, again, from what I hear, very strong chance to attract a top 5 bid.
Yeah.
And he's a beauty as well. He's going to be sitting next to Jacob Wiedering in that back line for a very long time, and it's exactly what Carlton needs.
Yeah. And one final question from an online reader whose username Waringa. Zak Butters keeps getting mentioned pre-free agency next year. Should Port let him go now? And what would it take to get him?
Well, Port Adelaide's list boss, Jason Cripps, could not have been more emphatic. He actually used the words 100% committed to Port Adelaide. And he actually said that there was no meeting a month out from the season where Zak raised the possibility of joining a Victorian club. So, again, we know that clubs have lied in the past. I'm not saying he lied in this situation, and he may have been telling absolute truth. But what is very clear is that he's one of the most wanted men in the AFL. Yeah. Every club was asked about him today, and I think Andrew Mackie at Geelong did not hide his love for Zak Butters. He's a gun. We've been watching him. We'd love to have him.
Yeah, I think Blair Hartley would have said,
you could keep going, go through the rest.
Richmond sitting there again, looking at it going, well, what can we get? He is one, but I don't think he's going to be a name that emerges in the next week.
No, it sounds like it'll be next year.
More traction. I think it's a next year one. So that is all we've got time for today. I hope that was comprehensive enough for you on an opening day of trade period. But this pod will be back daily during the trade period. Tomorrow, Sam McClure and Pete Ryan will provide you with all the latest trade news. Thanks, Marc, for joining us. And if you've got any questions or suggestions for our podcast during Trade Week, you can email us, realfootypod@theage.com.au. Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. We'll speak to you tomorrow.